is going to do everything possible to stop your pawn. This is why you will usually have to escort your pawn with your own king. In this position, black uses the king to step in front of the white king to create a virtual shield so that the black pawn can run to the promotion square. After king to f2, white's king cannot move closer to the pawn, so the king tries another path to get to the pawn with king to d3. After g3, there goes the pawn. There's no stopping it after g2. And black promotes. In this next position, looking at the board from white's perspective, white moves the king up the board where it can protect its pawn for the last several moves of its journey. After king to c7, black is absolutely powerless to stop this plan. The pawn is protected by its escort, the king. There's no stopping this pawn. Let's look at one of the most classic endings. White has a pawn on the a-file known as a rook pawn. If black's king can get into the corner on the a8 square, black will prevent white from promoting the pawn, drawing the game. If white doesn't pay attention and just pushes the pawn forward, this is what can happen. Let's take a look. Black's king can no longer be prevented from getting to the corner on a8. White's pawn advances up the board, and black's king keeps getting closer to it. White's pawn is now in serious danger, so white plays king to c6, moving the king closer to its pawn. After king a7, black's king threatens to win the pawn, so white plays king b5, protecting the pawn. After king a8, black's king sits in the corner, so white plays king to b6, forcing black's king out of the corner. After king b8, black will simply move back and forth from b8 to a8 until white pushes the pawn forward with a7. After king a8, if white does not want to move away from its pawn and allow black to capture it, forcing the draw, then after king a6, the game is a stalemate. Black has no legal moves, but the king is not in check. This is why it's so important for white to block the black king from getting into the corner first, and then focusing on escorting the pawn. That's why white should play king to c6. After king to d8, black's king gets closer to the corner, but white puts an end to that with king to b7. White's king blocks the king's path to the corner and will now escort the pawn up the board. Black plays king to d7, hoping to get to white's pawn in another direction. And after a4 and king d6, the black king has to spend extra time moving around the white king. a5, king to c5, and after a6, king to b5, black's king makes contact with the pawn, but it's too late after a7. White will promote to a queen on the next turn.